Platchums!
Hello everyone, today we're going to have a little peruse through Ninja Vampire's very nice PSN account and his trophy collection. So today is really much the case of the Padawan becoming the master, because I introduced Dan, or Ninja Vampire, to the trophy system all the way back in 2010, I would say, 2010. At which
Yes.
point I was high on my pedestal with, I think, my 15 plats or 20 plats, and it's safe to say he surpassed me a long time ago. So, at a brief look at Ninja Vampire's list, he's at level 522, so he's close, well, relatively close to that delicious 600 gold star point. 10,816 trophies, 212 plats, and 881 golds, and quite a nice collection of bronze and silver there as well. So, at a glance, it's safe to say you like collecting trophies. I think that's a pretty obvious observation, but it's kind of at that next level. I think once you pass 150 or touch on 200 plats, it's kind of like a different kind of account. So, I think the first thing, as well, as we scroll down here, 272 games played. I know this man well. I love the list because it's such a crazy array of games. I mean, you said about my account that you like the variation. I think there's actually far more variation in your list in terms of difficulty, in terms of indie games, in terms of the big blockbuster titles as well. You kind of have like a little sprinkle of everything on the list, and a very good 87% completion rate, which is fantastic considering you've played so many games.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it's definitely a bit different than a different approach than yours, I suppose. I'm quicker to give up when the going gets
I
tough.
I don't think your trophy list kind of would scream a man that gives up. Because as you scroll down here, we're going to look at them alphabetically first and foremost, and just kind of have a little look at the classics. The your favorite plats and all that. So your rarest trophies, first of all, because that just pops out to me. Gran Turismo 5. That is an insane platinum. And I know just from talking to you that it took 10 years. So tell me a little bit
Almost,
about
yeah.
your rarest plat.
Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of cursing, a lot of trying, a lot of failure. It's a really hard platinum, really hard game, and it actually stopped me going after subsequent Gran Turismo games because
Oh.
I've loved Gran Turismo since the PlayStation One. I used to play it. I used to play Gran Turismo 2 and Gran Turismo 3 all the time on the PS2 then. Um, so yeah, I loved Gran Turismo 5, but I was always just so close to the platinum, but I never got there. Um, that I never moved on to say Gran Turismo 6 on the PS3 or then on to Sport on the PS4, just because I had this like
You're
hanging
still
over me.
working on 5.
Yeah, still on 5, and it really is. It's that big a game. There was really like the one super roadblock was they have these Sebastian Vettel Red Bull challenges, and um, you're just in this like you're in a car that's actually it's actually made like a made up car because it literally could not drive that fast in real life.
The
It's
Batmobile,
just
like.
so fast. Yeah, and it's like an F1 car, but it's on steroids. So I just found it so difficult to drive, and I really did give up.
And what made you come
So
back and finish it off?
I think driving in real life gave me a little bit of
Did
confidence. Funnily
GT5
enough,
help you with driving in real life? Because you definitely had enough experience.
yeah, someone said that to me when I was learning to drive. They were like, "Oh, it shouldn't be too hard for you," because I kind of started driving later in life after I was done college, and someone said, "Oh, you must be like." I'd say it'd be fine for you because it pretty much is like playing a game, and I was like, I hope so. Except I can't crash into the wall in the in real life.
if you
Um,
if you did
but
your test in that Batmobile, you'd be doing very well. Just
Yeah.
pass first time, but no, it is
But
a super impressive plat though.
yeah, no, a lot of work went into that. Really, really slow grind. Like obviously, it's I think it was 9 years, 9 months. The difference, but it didn't take me that long. It was just a very, very long gap between. But when I came back to it, I had the wheel. I have a steering wheel for it, which I'd say is pretty much mandatory.
Okay.
I don't think it'd be possible a lot of the times on a controller. You can definitely get by most of the game with a controller, but for some of them, it's just the controller is just not responsive enough.
Well, you have the plat,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that definitely gets a seal of approval. So as we kind of look over the list, just again, what instantly arrests my attention is just straight off the bat, you've got games like Absu, Air, Assassin's Creed 2, Batman, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, No Night, and Batman Arkham VR. So straight away, this is like a little snapshot of just everyone will see like later on as we go down the list, but it's just such a interesting mix of games. And then you've got your Battlefields, none of which bar Battlefield Bad Company 2, you have the platform.
yeah.
And Battlefield 1, I hear that maybe you should shoot for that at
Yeah,
some
it's
point.
definitely on the agenda. I loaded it up there. I have all the online trophies, which is usually on the opposite. Usually I do all the single player stuff, but in
Yeah,
that I have
same.
all the online finished. I really enjoyed like all the Battlefields, but I never liked the single players. I find the single players are like it's like a really dull version
Kind of
of Call of
generic.
Duty.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
quite
like
generic.
they're not special now. But Bad Company 2 had a good single player, which is probably why that's platinum.
Kept you
But
engaged.
yeah, 3 and 1, very, very forgettable single players. But great games and great multiplayer. Really, really fun.
Yeah, no, they're
I'm pretty
great
close on Battlefield 3. It might not look it, but
It's
there's a lot of
ultra
DLC
rare.
for that.
It's an ultra rare
Yeah,
platinum.
I'm close on the online there, and then it'd just be kind of clearing up some co-op stuff. But there's co-op, there's online, and there's multiplayer. So it's a very varied trophy list.
But yeah, you'll get
fun.
on it. But just as you scroll down here, and you've got Bayonetta, Bioshock Infinite, um, Bioshock 2. Maybe if you got that for PlayStation Plus, just to finish off that trilogy. And it's just such a like, again, just a game like Blackwood Crossing, and then Borderlands, then Broken Age, and like it's just. I just love the variation. Like you definitely are better versed in the indie game market than I am. I dip my toe in every so often, but I think across the board, like your list is just so varied. You've got pretty much all the Call of Duties. I know you quite well, so I know how damn good you are at COD. Like,
It was more of a focus when I was, younger. I used to love going. It was all about KDA and getting the nukes and things like that. I used to love it. Or it's the only game series I've ever like waited outside at midnight.
I was there
for
with
the
you.
launch.
I
Yeah.
didn't even buy the game. I was just there because I'd never
No.
been to a midnight launch. I just felt like I was missing out. Like,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I've definitely I haven't been as much of a COD fan in the last few years, so I didn't get World War World War Two
World of War 2.
or World War. I think it's just World War Two.
No,
Is
yeah.
it? I can't remember. Yeah, I didn't get that one. But it is. I have it on PS Plus. I did finish the new Modern Warfare, which I really enjoyed because I love the Modern Warfare series anyway. But yeah, like I wouldn't play much online competitive multiplayer anymore, which is probably why I've moved away a little bit from Call of Duty. I don't play much Warzone. I've played it a little bit, but I wouldn't play much of it. Yeah, I really, really do enjoy them, and I had some great memories in a lot of those games.
But it's
I know.
time to put them to bed.
Yeah, I'm still a big fan of the zombies, and I'm sure I'll probably play Cold War when it's cheaper, or I'll get it off someone. But yeah, I wouldn't be camping out for them these days.
Yeah, yeah. But again, just straight away, games like Cold Vein, Contrast, Counter Strike. These are all kind of games that I wouldn't see on so many people's lists. Like they're
Well,
kind of
Counter Strike maybe for a reason, because Counter
yeah.
Strike is not for the PlayStation. That was I used to love playing Counter Strike on Steam. I put an unfortunate amount of hours into CS:GO on Steam, but on the PlayStation it was just there. I was like, oh, well, I have to try it at least, and you could see I got the platinum in 2 hours and 37 minutes. It was a really, really quick platinum. And it was really bad. It was like, it just wasn't, Counter Strike is all about precision, and you can't get that on the controller the same way. It's just not built for it.
Well, what's interesting actually when you look at Counter Strike, you said you got it in 2.5 hours, yet it's still only at a 24%. So it's like for such a short game, it kind of shows just your proficiency of first person shooters. If anything, that like you can do a kind of uncommon plat to kind of rare. It's in that middle ground in like 2 hours. It's not like it's a Radalika game. There is still a bit of skill to it. So I'm scrolling down. You've got Crisis, Dante's Inferno, all the Dark Souls, which I'm jealous of. And
I tried to get the Souls likes as well. I'm a big fan of the subgenre as a whole. So Code Vein was up there. You'll see more of them, like Lords of the Fallen, and the Surge as well. Like I really, really, it's definitely my favorite genre at the minute of games since Demon Souls came out. I've been a huge fan.
I think just for people watching, you can probably see the different styles in how we approach trophies. Dan is just a beast. He gets the plats, and I kind of get stuck on certain games. So it's kind of like a side effect is that Dan has just played a lot more games, and I think has a richer canvas that he's painted on in terms of like just an overall trophy collection. Like this is a real kind of just collection of games, and I just think it's fantastic. Like Dead Space 1 and 2, great games. Extraction, not so much. I punish myself to get the platinum. And Dead Space 3, I'm sure you can get that at some point.
I was thinking of, because I have the moves now, of course, for the PSVR. So I was thinking of maybe going back to Extraction just to knock it out, because I hear it's a little bit easier in places with the move.
I think there's two collectibles that are I remember being particularly just irritating. That like you've got like a 1 second window, so you kind of have to gauge preemptively in the scene leading up to it where you need to put the reticule just to like immediately get it. But scrolling down, like again, Destiny Detuned, which is just, I remember you playing that. That was such a funny game. That was one of my
first.
Yeah, that was one.
It was definitely one of my first.
I think that was around the time. I think we're like, okay, I think you're into trophies. I think that was it's like that was kind of the turning point. Like Dishonored, it like, but again, it's like games like, Donut County, like Dragon Ball Z, sorry, Dragon's Dogma. I mean, like it's just such a varied list, and Dynasty Warriors, Enslaved. Like it's just great to see. Like you're clearly just like a hardcore gamer, and you just play so many. You've touched on genres.
Maybe my 90s there, my 90s kid vibes of Dragon Ball Z and
Dynasty Warriors.
And Dynasty Warriors, yeah, like they're relics of the 90s kid, maybe early 2000s when I was when I had my PlayStation 2 and I'd be watching Cartoon Network and stuff. So yeah, like that stuck with me. I'm actually, one of the games I'm really excited to get soon. I'll have to pick it up, is the Samurai Jack game, because that looks really good too.
That actually does look pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't have it yet, but I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan from growing up with it. And Dynasty Warriors, yeah, as well. It's super cool. I haven't I haven't gotten many of the newer ones because they've kind of gone away from what make Dynasty Warriors special.
The
Dynasty
90s.
Warriors was great. Yeah, those mechanics work really well for Dynasty Warriors, and then they tried to bring in like open world stuff, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, flavor of the decade almost. I was going to say flavor of the month, but I think the open world genre has been in vogue for a bit longer than that. But I'm just scrolling down.
What I would probably like, focus on myself as like when I'm looking for games is that, I love to have a game to play all the time. I don't like not having a game just like in the back of my mind when I'm just doing my normal day stuff, so I always like to have a game that I'm like looking forward to playing. And if I have like a gap or I've finished a game or something, I found that indie games really fill those voids, where maybe you might have the money for another AAA, for example, or you're waiting on paycheck or something, and you can pick up an indie game for £5 on a PS sale, So what I'll usually do is I'll spend an hour looking through the PlayStation Store and seeing are there any sales. Then I'll find a game that looks fairly interesting, and I'll look up the reviews on YouTube. Oftentimes they have really few reviews because they're quite small games. But like I kind of have, a feel for them. If I think it looks good, I'll play it. I won't play anything that looks shit, or anything that looks crap. I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way for platinums, but I love games that give fairly easy platinums and are fun experiences at the same time.
If you can combine the two. But I was just going to say that like it is reflected in your list. I mean, it's just like you've some easy plats, some ridiculous plats, and kind of everything in between, but ultimately like they're all like either great games or just very good games or just like indie games. So it is just like a very interesting kind of list, and I'm just scrolling through that solitary FIFA that I think I put on your profile, so I'd like to apologize for that. I think I helped you get a few trophies in it.
I think it was my roommate, in fairness. I wouldn't put the blame on you there.
Don't put that evil on me.
Yeah. I think when I was in college, we had the kind of communal PlayStation 3. We had it was kind of FIFA and GTA 4 that we kind of play together, in the house.
Casuals.
So
dirty casuals.
Yeah. So FIFA and GTA were the kind of two games that were just on my account before anything else was. So but yeah, like I had some good times playing FIFA 09. I'm really bad at FIFA. I'm really bad at, you wouldn't know it to look at me, but I'm not a sports guy. But yeah, like, I just be so rubbish at FIFA. I'd be, I remember I went to it's like a kind of New Year's get together with some friends from college a few years ago, and of course, they were all into FIFA, and it was like, oh, let's play World Cup, and I was like, okay, and they're like, oh, Dan, you're great at games, and I'm like, so I was quickly relegated to the bottom seed, quickly eliminated from that World Cup.
Picked last in FIFA, like,
yeah,
but all like a great collection of Final Fantasy platinums.
Yeah. I think I mentioned in the in Platinum Bros podcast.
It's your favorite series,
probably be my favorite series of all time, just across all the different consoles. I've been playing Final Fantasy since I was a wee lad.
Well, like, again, that kind of shows on your list here, and then it's just kind of the big indie games like Firewatch and Flower, both Game of Thrones games. I see you just started Ghost of Tsushima, so I'm expecting that plat within a week.
I have to say that Game of Thrones game, not the Telltale version, the other one, is probably one of what I'd regard maybe the hidden gems of the PlayStation 3. I really enjoyed that game, especially from a story standpoint.
Okay.
Thought the story was really, really good. I might be looking at it through rose-tinted glasses, but I had a great time when I played it. It was a really interesting game, and especially because it was kind of, like you can see there, July 2013.
Yeah.
That was the height of
that was peak Game of
mania,
Thrones. Yeah, like season 3 or so, wasn't it? So, yeah, when everything was still going well.
It's a clunky game. It's not a super polished experience, but there's it's a a dual kind of story being told. You've got like a he's like a I can't remember. He's like a high priest of Essos or something. You know, kind of one of R'hllor's kind of fire guys, and then the other guy is a guy in the Night's Watch, and it tells their two stories kind of side by side. I really loved it. I thought it was a great game. I think July 2013 was kind of like an infamous month for me. It was like a summer when I was like just done college, and I think I think it's my most trophied month of all time.
We'll have a look. We'll dabble into the stats later, but all the God of Wars. There's that sweet Gran Turismo 5 plat, which was a labor of love. Like 9 years, 9 months. That's a lifetime in the video game world. Like that. But you got it there. You've got GTA 5, both on the PS3 and PS4. So I commend the fact you went for the 100%. No, you don't. It's not. You don't need to do everything the 100%. But there is a 100% trophy. If I remember, it's already been like 7 years.
I didn't have to do the online twice.
Yeah.
It auto popped the online, and I think that's probably my only auto pop trophies that I have on my whole list. I would make it like, you know, I wouldn't, for example, like do an auto pop for a game that I have the platinum in already, just because I don't like getting the trophies that I don't earn, you know.
And I personally don't like the look. I'm such like an OCD, you know, but I personally don't like the look of like stacked lists, you know, the multi-regional. I just prefer just having the one just clean cut. There's the one game. Plus also to buy a game that I already own for like a different region just doesn't really appeal to me. That go towards something I haven't played before, or you know, just something else. So like that's something that never really appealed. But in terms of like the quality of like the platinum, get auto popping the online doesn't exactly diminish it, because just the single player alone, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, that was my kind of like, I didn't know when I bought it it was because it came out first obviously on the PS3, and I finished it, you know, you can see there I finished it in a month, and I got the platinum, so I was, or a month and a half, so I was like big into finishing it when I started playing GTA 5 on the PS3, and then of course it came out on the PS4, and I was kind of like humming and hawing, would I buy it? But it was the first person mode, and they had kind of like new radio stations, and I was just thinking how cool it would be to drive around in like kind of this kind of better quality of the PS4, because I love the game so much anyway, and I bought it. But you can see there the platinum took me 5 years, because I got to a certain point and then I stopped, because I was like, oh, I think I'm a bit burned out with playing it again. So that's why it took me that long. I had to return to it.
I think you were telling me before that like you spent, I'd say the past year, like you have got a lot of new games, but what I find interesting was that the past year has really been you finishing off your backlog, because I remember like your completion rate, I think, was maybe the high 70s or low 80s at the start of the year. Definitely. So you've gone up like 8 or 9%, which for an account with so many games is like a huge leap, you know. Like, so I again, like, it's just such a damn good list, and like Guacamelee, Grim Fandango, Greed, just 3 very different kind of unique games. And just scrolling through Horizon, Hotline Miami 2, which you got in July as well. That was a good week for you. And it was the week of the 5-year plats, GTA 5 and Hotline Miami 2. You've got Infamous First Light Journey. That'd be one I would say you can tidy up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I got through the game, but obviously my partner left me along the way, so I didn't get that trophy.
Can you invite people in that? Because I can help you with that.
I don't know. I think you kind of just have to like match up with someone at the start and then hope they stay with you.
I'm sure if we join at the same time, we'll maybe find it. Then Killing Floor 2, the bane of every completionist's existence, sitting pretty at 98%. I'm sure you'll load up some kind of Russian video guide to find the 10 collectibles they've added this time.
some kind soul on Steam.
Yes, I know, it's always on Steam.
It's always on Steam, yeah, always on Steam.
But Killzone 2 is a great plat. Obviously, you know, you need to get in the top 1% of the leaderboards. Killzone Shadowfall as well. And again, just you got Life is Strange and Little Big Planet and Lords of the Fallen, Spider-Man, Mass Effect. It's it's just such a crazy list. It's like you've got all the big hitters in there, some hidden gems. Like it's fantastic. Metal Gear Solid 3. I challenge you to do 2.
See, I love two. Two is one of my favorite games. You know, I definitely class it in, you know, at least the top 20 of my favorite games of all time. But it's a game that I do often replay. It's just a game that I haven't gone for played on this. I have it on the PlayStation 2 still, and I have the HD collection, but I just haven't loaded it up on the account because it is such a daunting task, you know, going through all those dog tags and all the VR missions.
The VR missions are something. I have a memory card, right? Do you remember those? And I think the last update was like 2005 or something. And it was like, I was stuck at, I think it was 91.2% in the VR missions. So when I first played MGS2 Substance, I just couldn't get past that. And that number, 91.2%, was ingrained in my mind. It was the MGS1 Snake and the VR missions. I just couldn't get past. And then it was so funny how kind of easy I find them when I eventually played the HD collection. I think it was like 2012, 2013 when I was playing the HD collection. So it was like 7 years before that I was playing MGS2 Substance. It is doable. If you do load up the HD collection, I'd recommend Peace Walker if you've never played that before, and that is again a co-op game, so that makes it infinitely easier. So again, if you ever need any help, I'll definitely help you with that.
I had it on the PSP, but I didn't have I never played it on the PS3.
I wish MGS5 had the same co-op mechanic, but there's your namesake, Mini Ninja.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting one because I think it's the only game on the whole list that I rented.
A Relic of the Past, June 2010, and completed it in 1 day and 20 hours. See, that used to be like a what you consider, sorry for cutting you off, that used to be like what you consider like an easy plat. I know we've had this discussion before, but like there was still a bit of time in that. It wasn't as if you finished it in 6 minutes, and you probably played it all day if you rented it, because I know when I would rent a game, I'd get home and that's all I did until like 2 o'clock in the morning, and when I was young and able to get up again at like 7 a.m, you know, on 2 hours of sleep, and I played right until the evening, so when I had to return it. I
got that game because of the name sake. I was like, oh, I love ninjas, so I'll get this game because it looks cool. It's a decent little kind of 3D platformer. I enjoyed it at the time.
One of your best platinums, Mountain Blade Warband. I'm actually going to click in here and explore this one here because it's super rare, 0.1 on the Sony side and 1.08 on the PSN profile side, so that's quite in like the high class.
It's also my 10,000th trophy because I lined it up. You know, we discussed that at the last day as well.
Callback.
It was one of the only ones I've ever kind of gone out of my way to like line up because it was kind of coming. I was like, oh wow, I'm nearly at 10,000, and I'd spoken to you about it, and I was thinking, I wonder could I get my 200 platinum at the same time as my 10,000 trophy, and I thought that'd be a cool kind of merge of the numbers. But I was just looking at it and I was thinking like it was just too difficult to try and line them up. It would have meant I would have had to have gone for some like really difficult games in my backlog to get it, and I just wasn't feeling that at the time. So I was close with Warband. I think the only reason it's a really, really rare platinum for a reason, twofold, because number one, you have a multiplayer that's completely dead. It's not difficult, but it's dead. And the like single player... Faction. Yeah, and the single player is ridiculously tedious. You basically have to... you have to become Emperor or Empress.
Easy.
You have to play as a female character. Then you have to conquer everywhere with with your kind of allegiance. So you have to pledge allegiance to like a certain faction, and then you have to get them to rule all the land, and then you have to do it. There's one other way I can't remember, but it's just very tedious. You can kind of do it if you really plan it out. But I have I suppose the equivalent of the platinum. I have the exact same achievement list on Steam, so it's the second time I've done it.
You did it twice. Good
Yeah.
lord, good lord. Like that would be the kind of list now. I like the game looks pretty good. Like I'm not gonna lie, I've no experience with Might and Blade, but that would be one of those trophy lists that would make even me kind of stop and maybe contemplate whether or not I want to play this game, or if I go to the hassle of like playing it on another account, just because it is such a daunting task. Like this, the mix of the online, it obviously requires skill, patience, dedication. Like it's just such a good plat.
It's like I would say not too much skill really, because you can do a lot of it. Like there's no difficulty requirement, for example. So if you want to play it on like the super easiest mode, you can, which is grand. And then again, the multiplayer, what I did for the multiplayer was I borrowed a PlayStation 4 and I had two of them up. I had a TV here, a TV here, and I was just walking into your man and just boosting myself, because you just join lobbies. And there's so few people playing it that you can just join any lobby you want and go at it, you know.
God, but that is tedious. I think the only trophy I self boosted, no, I did it in Far Cry for I think one session. I'm like, I just can't do this, just can't do it. And the other one was my friend Liam brought over his PlayStation to help me with the Alvedizing Petrovic trophy in GTA 4. Yeah. But that was something else, because he could literally just leave the car there, and I think he just, started watching TV, and then you just like hit X when I set up the next match or something. And I could just go finish the race, do whatever. So I didn't have to sit there with the kind of two controllers, move slowly and then move slowly and then clunk on the head, then reload. So
yeah.
But no, it's a great plat. So I'm just flying through here. Like, you got your Neo games. Again, like Old Man's Journey, Outlast, Persona 4. It's like just 3 games in a row. They're just so different.
Yeah, I think Outlast is a good example of like maybe the kind of style of gamer that I am, because in Outlast you've got the DLC and the main game, and both of them have like a no death run on the highest difficulty, and I got really, really close on both of them, and then I got like some gammy death, and then I was just like, give up, I don't care, like I'm okay sometimes at leaving it at that A rank, for example, rather than going for the S, if I feel like
Insane
I'm just
rank,
like
yeah.
if I'm not if I'm not really feeling the game anymore, or I don't bother pushing myself and kind of torturing myself like I know you do sometimes.
No, it's a good way to be, because like I think with me it's like a game like Far Cry 2, just to bring it back, I would just stop boosting, but then that's why it took me like 5 years. Like when I see people like the plat certain games like that in like a week or two, I'm like, oh my god, I just like that would mentally break me, because ultimately I think for both of us, the trophies kind of come second, and we probably mainly enjoy getting them in games we love. You kind of stop and you're happy with the A rank or S rank or the plat, which is kind of the main thing. I just have that weird thing with the 100% where like I'm gonna go for it, and hopefully I've made a good decision what game to play, that like it's not such a struggle. But I admire the fact you're able to walk away.
Yeah, and like I wish that sometimes I had that second run like in Outlast. I wish that I just said, oh no, I'm just gonna do one more go or I'm gonna do it until I get it, because I know like I could there's some really good guides, for example, and I could just follow it and get it. But I think sometimes just when I've decided I'm done with the game, it just gets like pushed out my brain and made space for another game.
But it's a good way to be. In that way, as I said earlier in the video, that like sometimes I get stuck in a rut of like 2 or 3 games. Now I've kind of gotten a bit better, but I know when I was younger, like I really just fixated in like 2 games or so. But now, like, I'm not so unwilling just to kind of like play a smaller game or just like come back to it at some point.
Yeah.
So Portal 2, that's always a great game, and that Red Dead 2 plat is just commendable. In 4 months, so I think you've beat me by about a year and a half. Not that I even have
4 months
plat.
of just playing Red Dead, pretty much. It was, yeah, it's a really long plat, but it's definitely one of my favorite games of the PS4 generation, I'd say. I went into it thinking, I don't know about the look of the main character. I just John Marston is such a great main character. Like, how can someone take his place in a prequel when we already kind of know what's going to happen? And it just blew all those expectations.
Yeah, Arthur's a great character. Like,
yeah, he completely overtook John in a lot of ways for me. I really really loved that. Actually, I don't think that's right where it says Red Dead Redemption Platinum in a week. I don't think that's right.
Let's see. I remember when we were playing this around the same time.
I don't remember it being that short of a game though.
Yeah,
1 week.
Exodus in America 23rd of May and Legend of the West 2nd of June.
That must have been some week. Because there's online there as well. I don't know. That's really.
I think there was more efficient boosting methods in or like XP gains in the original Red Dead Online. It was just Gain highlights. But I remember like this screams a double or triple XP weekend, because that's how I remember finishing up the game like 10 years ago now, but it was just like a triple XP. Like, it was definitely not as developed as Red Dead Online is these days.
I got that release day, I'm pretty sure though.
Yeah, I think I got it
Can't
probably
remember
a few days or a week after you. With some games were normally pretty in sync.
Yes, yeah.
So you've got pretty much all the Resis bar Resi 1 and Resi 0 and 6.
Umbrella Chronicles and Code Veronica.
Okay, apart from all them.
Yeah, but yeah, the main ones, yeah, like
kind of
all
like
the side
myself.
ones.
Yeah, like I do want to replay Code Veronica X because I actually really like that, but I played that on the GameCube because that was a GameCube game.
Yeah, and PS2, yeah.
So like it was just like one of those that I've never got around to it. And I own Resident Evil 0 and I still haven't played it because I got the HD collection for free in Switzerland. So you've got Rocket League, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Sekiro, whatever your pronunciation preference is there, which is just a damn good plat. I don't care what the 27% says on PSN profiles.
Yeah, that's one of those. It's the same as Dark Souls. It's not an easy plat, but I think the people who play it
are good.
Yeah. Well, maybe not good, but the people who play it are going for it.
Yeah,
they know what they want.
Yeah, they know what they're in for and what they want.
Yeah.
So Shadow of the Colossus, that's the remake. Shenmue 1 and 2. I mean, like
Shenmue 1 and 2 are just. I think they're definitely one of my favorite games series of all time. Mm-hmm. It's just if you
Dreamcast
if you want,
OG speaking up.
Yeah, and I never owned a Dreamcast because I had the PS1 and the Nintendo 64. I remember the only time I ever played a Dreamcast properly was in the cinema. They had a Dreamcast there. So I never played Shenmue until it got re-released. But wow, like I felt like I was back in the 90s playing Shenmue. I was just like it is the epitome of character in a game. It's just like the voice acting is so bad and the story is like so over the top. But it's just amazing. I really would wholeheartedly recommend that to anyone who just wants a good time.
No,
such a good time.
I remember a friend of mine growing up, he was like the antithesis of me. It's like he had an N64, not a PS1. He had a Dreamcast, not a PS2. So like I remember that was my main experience with Shenmue. Like I remember saying to you that I want to pick them up if they're on sale or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're just the forefathers of the open world genre in a way. It's like they didn't perfect the formula, but by God did they lay the foundation for it. And I think
what's amazing is that like if it doesn't matter at what point you are in the game, You can go over to like some random old fella on the street and be like, tell me the direction to the dragon building. And then your man's like, I don't know where the dragon building is. Everything is voiced. Everything. Like, it doesn't matter at what point of the game, every stupid NPC has like a dedicated line for everything. It's
And that was
absolutely ridiculous.
unbelievable at the time. Because
Yeah.
it was still very much the days. Like, it was what, like 2-3 years removed from Metal Gear Solid 1, which was like the height of storytelling, and like,
Yeah,
you know,
99, I think, or even
99, so
98.
probably like a year
Yeah.
or so after. So like, that is a huge leap up
But
from like what you consider like
I think
amazing on
still
PS1.
today, inflation wise, Shenmue 1 was the most expensive game of all time. As far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
like
that-
it's
So the legend goes.
yeah.
think it cost $70
but
million.
You've played Yakuza, you know, and Yakuza is basically like good Shenmue.
It's just
Yakuza's-
develop Shenmue
Yeah.
because like a game like that is just, it's hard to, you know, appraise it based on modern standards because it was released into a video gaming world so different than the one today.
Yeah.
And you just see the rawness of it, and just that was kind of like the ore that a lot of developers ripped out of the earth and kind of made and developed into like the games you see today. Like, it was so influential.
Yeah.
Even if it
Yeah.
didn't, it wasn't striding or like running at high speed with like its mechanics, but it definitely was the game that taught the open world genre how to walk, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. And Shenmue 3, I think the main criticism for that one is that it
ends on a cliffhanger again.
again, yeah, it does. Curse you, Landy. But but the main criticism that a lot of people had for it was like, oh, it's great that Shenmue was like so influential and it did so much for the open world and for video games, you know, moving forward for the next, 15, 20 years. It's just that it made Shenmue 3, or they made Shenmue 3, and they just didn't take any of the games made in the last 15 years into account at all and didn't like learn anything from them. It was so
stuck aggressively to the old formula. But before we move on, I just love that voice acting. It's like, what do you say to me?
Yeah.
So good. But
So
you've
good.
got we'll scroll down, we'll end the Shenmue discussion, but like Sly Cooper, Sound Shape, South Park, Spyro.
Sound
Four
Shape there is
songs,
one
yeah.
of those, those games that I've kind of actively avoided doing that multi-plat, because you can just load it on the PS3 and the PS4 and you can auto get the plat. But
87 silvers. Jeez, I had no idea it was. Why?
One of the most valuable games. Yeah.
Well, I had no idea. Wow, and there's 5 other stacks: North America, EU, Asia, Australia and Japan. Jesus. You'd be tempted.
Yeah, you would, definitely. It'd bump your rank up a good bit, definitely.
See, stick it to the man. You see, this is why I love looking at your list, because I've no idea what that is.
That was a PS Plus game at the kind of start of the PlayStation 4 life cycle.
Has a bit of a Psychonauts vibe going on based
Yeah.
on the artwork.
Yeah, it's a point and click, kind of similar-ish. Yeah, a bit like zany and stuff, but it was a free game,
And then Tekken, which I remember Tekken 6. I remember that was one of the first platinums that I was like thinking, what have I unleashed here? I think he's going to surpass me, because like I think you did it in a day in 19 hours, but it felt like 15 minutes at the time.
Yeah,
And I
it was
was like,
definitely one of my first. Yeah,
yeah, I was like, okay.
I've always been a Tekken man over Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or.
I was never
any of the
great
others.
at them. Never great
me
at
neither.
kind of fighting games.
I'm pretty good at like keeping people knocked down as Horang or Law, but that's as good as I can do. Just do the cheesy strats,
I just do the cheesy kick to the knee.
Yeah, or the Eddie
Different
Gordo back circle, 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 circle.
Or was the little dinosaur that would just fart.
Gone.
Gone, yeah.
Yeah.
That used to infuriate me when friends would pick God.
He was OP, yeah.
Then you've got both versions of Skyrim.
Yeah.
The Last of Us remastered and the original and 2, so kind of the whole collection there. Lord of the Rings War in the North. Walking Dead. Much like myself, you haven't played the final season or New Frontier, but you said that you'd be getting on to that.
Yeah, definitely.
The 100% in Witcher 3, which I always kind of have to give a clap to, that is an investment.
Yeah, great game.
Tomb Raider Underworld, and I think this was your longest plat, 10 years and 9 months.
That was yeah. I think you gave me the encouragement to go back to that because I was like, no, I'm not doing it. You know, I got Tomb Raider Underworld as a big Tomb Raider fan back in 2009. But unfortunately for poor Lara, I played Uncharted. You introduced me to Uncharted, and you're like, oh hey, look at this guy. He's really cool. He does like Tomb Raider stuff, and I was like, oh wow, that's really good. And then I went and I played Tomb Raider Underworld, and I was like, why can't you be like him?
I don't love you anymore. No,
yeah, it was like hard to go back to after playing Uncharted because it was such a leap, you know.
Like I played the reboot of Tomb Raider in 2013, and kind of Lara Croft 1, 2, and whatever on the PS1.
Yeah,
and I think just the most discernible difference between Uncharted and Tomb Raider is that in Uncharted, the supporting characters actually have a personality.
Yeah.
Like
not like Jonah.
No, like
Jonah?
My whole thing with the Tomb Raider reboot, even though it was like critically acclaimed and all that jazz, I thought it was a decent game.
Yeah.
It was fun to play, but everyone bar Lara Croft was just uninteresting and not like completely undeveloped, not even underdeveloped. That's just my perspective. The story was just so right. bland. It was,
and see the first one, the first reboot. So you get Tomb Raider Definitive Edition there. Like that game came out and it was really good, and it was like I think it was a really strong game. Because it kind of set itself apart from the Uncharted series, because that's what it had to do then. You know, it had to be like, it had to update itself, but set itself apart. And it did. It came back. It was dark. And see, that game, I think, worked really well because Lara was pretty much the only character in the game. It was all about her. But then the next games, Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, those ones started introducing more characters, and they weren't strong. And then they did a weird thing in Shadow where they made like Lara kind of evil.
Well,
a bit strange.
I remember Rise the Tomb Raider was on PS Plus, and I loaded it up on alternative accounts because I'm like I think there's only been like 7 or 8 games that I've gotten that have never really cut the mustard, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to put it on my main account, and that was one of them because loaded it up and it's like another slow kind of climb onto like a snow-capped mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just so sick of snow in games, and I've just immediately turned it off. It just felt like I should not judge it so harshly based on the opening 17 seconds, but I'm just like, I just don't fancy playing a game like this. I mean, because with like the character investment, like that's what drove me forward in like the Uncharted games. Even if it's like, oh, okay, another climbing section, okay, let's just get this done so that we can get to the next cutscene. But then there'd always be some amazing set piece. But yeah, ultimately, Tomb Raider Underworld, I just loved that it was find 10 treasures, 1st of October 2009. Scale treasure collector, find 50 treasures, 22nd of July 2020.
No.
How well hidden were those treasures? Jesus
I was
Christ.
just shoveling. I was like digging with like a little chisel for those those years in between.
It's that's such an interesting timestamp. It was either 9th of October 2009 or like July 2020. So we're coming towards the end of the list here. You've got, there's those Uncharted games. You even have Golden Abyss, which is one that I don't have because I don't have a Vita. I own the game now. I got on PlayStation Plus, but I don't have the console.
My Vita list is more akin to your list because I have 100% in everything on my Vita. So I'm very proud of my Vita list.
You don't mess around when you're on your Vita.
Yeah. I'm a huge Vita advocate as well. I think
I've wanted to pick one up for ages. I'm just waiting till I've a bit of spare funds, and that I'm gonna try to pick one up.
Just for the remote play, like that's what I use it mainly for. Just playing it in bed, playing the PS4 in bed. Because a lot of those indie games, like they don't require super
Living the
precision
life.
and stuff. Yeah. So that's what I do. I get the remote play going, and I just, lying in bed playing my indie games that I picked up for a fiver.
You legend. um, Vanquish, as someone who also has this plat, I always have to tip my hat off to people who get that challenge 6 out of the way.
The key to that was that cigarette flick at the start.
Yeah, it really is. Without that, I'm going to hide our faces here to finish off the list because I can't scroll down. So, you've got Wolfenstein, World of Final Fantasy. Of course, another Final Fantasy game just has to creep up somewhere if it's your list. Worms and Yooka-Laylee to finish off the list. So, now that we're at the end of it, I think my kind of thoughts are simple. It's just a fantastic list. It's a real kind of like gamers list, and it's one of those like it's hit that kind of level I think in the past year especially, of just like kind of like elite trophy hunting, like 200 plus plats, 10,000 plus trophies. You're at level 522, so you're 78 levels away from that coveted 600, which at the rate you're going, like, it's not so difficult to level up. I can see you hitting that within a year.
I'd say it's probably going to coincide with maybe like 300 plats, kind of looking at like projecting it, because it seems like maybe around
it's like a level of plats, kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
Like a level and a half, like, but I'm going to go into your stats here, and let's see what we find. Okay, so again, what's interesting is like you're pretty even in terms of like platforms. 127 games on PS4, 108 on PS3, and there's those 11 S rank Vita games.
Well, I think the Vita ones are there's a lot of them are the multi-platforms as well.
Yeah.
But I would always play, if I could play a game on the Vita, I would, because I love the portability of it, and I love being able to play it, while I'm not able to play the PlayStation.
Yeah, I need to get a Vita. And here's another, like, the average rarity is 41.89, which is stellar for someone with as many plats as you, and also considering the fact that you don't go for DLC like I do, because that kind of skews my rarity a little bit. Like, you've 157 ultra rares, but they're all based predominantly around the platinum, which I think is arguably more impressive because you've got a kind of a larger kind of size of player base.
Oh no, I would disagree definitely, but something that we discussed off camera was our we both we had a look at that Exophase website, or no, sorry, it was the PSN trophy leaders.
Oh, the
website.
leaderboard, yeah.
Yeah, and we both weren't like really aware of that list at all. But what's interesting I think about my list is that I'm just kind of hovering around like the 90,000th in the world, and if you look at my rarity ranking based on my rarity list, like my rank in the world based on rarity, it's like almost exactly the same. I'm in like 8,000th or something. So that kind of speaks to maybe the variety of games that I'm playing. I'm just playing the same kind of games across the board. Like everything that I'm playing a kind of equal measure of easy games and an equal measure of difficult games, because the rarity is the same as my world rank. But then we were looking at your account, and you're like ranked 30,000 or something in the world on the normal one, but then you're ranked 3,000 in the world based on rarity, just because your list is so heavily skewed towards rare trophies. So
it is funny when you compare our accounts, but as I was saying, like, I know what you mean where you're coming from. There's more players that obviously the trophies might be easier, but still considered ultra rare.
Yeah.
But I think when you consider the fact that this game's like Gran Turismo, Mountain Blade, GTA 5 is still a difficult plat with the online and stuff. Like, I wouldn't kind of understate just the quality of those ultra rares that you have. You just seem to avoid the kind of easy pickups like the free DLC, because you don't really focus on that, whereas I would pick up a lot of kind of ultra rares just for kind of we were talking about like Days Gone, that the challenges that like free DLC is not going to be played by everyone, whereas DLC that people pay for is more likely that they'll play it. So like you kind of avoid those kind of like easy enough ultra rare. Not that I think if it's ultra rare, like it deserves to be. I think the stats kind of just back that up, but I still think it's very impressive to have a 41% average rarity, as you said, with just the sheer variation of games you play. And over the game ranks, there's only 4 games that are rank B, 2 rank C, 2 D, and 1 E. So that's, again, just fantastic. So, like, pretty much everything, or the vast majority of your list is either S or A, which, again, is just fantastic. And I think I see that month you were talking about there in July 2013, 476 trophies in a month. My highest, I think, is 134.
Yeah, no, I went a bit mental that month. I was just like, I was in my room and like people would just bring me food and they were like, "Oh, Dan, are you coming outside?" And I'm like,
nah. The following month wasn't too shabby either. 362 in August.
Yeah, no, I think it was more like a summer, July, August. Yeah, no, a dark period.
Yeah, you've hit similar heights, kind of August 14, 365 again, and then this year has been a very good year for you, though. I mean, February 222, then 260, then 306, 208. So it's like you've been consistently higher up the past year. So I think that's possibly a result of coronavirus, a lockdown. Yeah. So it's the exception, not the rule. The pandemic exception.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's funny that this year kind of mimics like when I started getting trophies. So it's like and I feel like that actually, as well. Yeah, I feel kind of like I got that kind of love for getting the trophies again at the start of this year. Now I've always had it. There's always been it's always been something that I've.
It seems to come in very heavy waves, kind of like me. Like we've a very similar looking kind of monthly activity chart, where we kind of go up and down, like you're very similar like me. You've had a few months where you're only getting like 10, sometimes just 0 trophies, and you've had like long stretches where you just weren't playing games, and then you come back like in 2013 with an absolute bang. Like
I think that 2013 was when I was playing League of Legends or something. it just like, so if there's a month where where it's 0, it's not that I've stopped playing games, it's just that I've played games somewhere else.
Moved on to somewhere else, yeah. And again, just you've kind of got a trophy at every time in the day. You're pretty consistent across the week, and oddly enough, kind of Saturday and Sunday, that's kind of less than during the week. But I'd say that's because you're a family man. So yeah, I think we'll kind of close it off here. Although I will say one thing will keep this going: 3 plats that I would steal from your list. So, gotta go Gran Turismo 5.
Yeah.
Just so if I can avoid having to put in the time and skill into that, I'll do it. So I would take that. There's so many plats here. I think I'll try to get the Dark Souls one without stealing it from you. Like Gran Turismo, again, things kind of like the Final Fantasy trophies are all great. And like the stacks, just kind of the more unique games.
A lot of the Final Fantasy games are like not hard, but yeah, they do they have a lot of a time commitment to them. Which is, yeah. I think
I'd probably nick that Mountain Blade. just because it's such like a niche game, but then like a really like kind of rare plat on top of it. Persona 4 is a great plat. Red Dead 2, I'd be tempted.
You're close.
I'm close. I won't steal at this point. Sekiro or Sekiro, I don't know whichever way you want to pronounce it. That's just such a good list. Yeah, I would say that I would maybe nick something like Two Worlds 2.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's just like, again, it sums up your list in a way that it's ultra rare plat, and just a game that I don't think it's just such a niche game. Like only 57,000 owners, but that shows off your penchant for RP RPGs.
It's a funny RPG, definitely. Like the first Two Worlds game, Two Worlds 1, is notoriously like a cult classic because it's kind of bad and kind of great. And Two Worlds 2 is much the same. It's kind of one of those really kind of great PC games. Definitely runs better on the PC, but when it came to the PlayStation, I was like, oh, I gotta play it here as well.
Yeah, no. So I steal those, but before we leave it, what is your favorite platinum and your least favorite platinum?
Ooh, my least favorite platinum is, like, in terms of earning the platinum itself, I would say I had, I don't know. I think when I think of tedium and like the most arduous platinum, I would say Final Fantasy X-2, because you have to play the entire game basically with a guide. Because if you talk to a person
annoying
in the room at the wrong side, you miss out on the 100%, and then you're locked out of it. So that game was really, really, like, I suppose it's not as good as 10 anyway. It's a bit of a kind of a love it or hate it game, and I definitely lean on the love it side anyway.
What a surprise!
But the platinum was just so arduous, and you don't get to enjoy a game when you have to follow a list.
Like,
you know,
it's what's put me off Deus Ex Mankind Divided, where it's like I know I'm just gonna have to follow a guide like almost meticulously, as opposed to just kind of playing the game. And also it's kind of like a big kind of heavy story driven game. I heard it's short, but much like yourself, like I prefer just go in, play the game, and then when I finish it, come back. And I feel like a game like that, I don't really want to have to play it in that way. Yeah. You know, like I feel like you shouldn't be punished in a way for kind of picking the choices that you want to make.
Yeah. I agree.
And what's your favorite platinum?
Favorite one? It's really tough. I might say Destiny 1, because we talked about this before, but
is a tough plat.
It's just that I had such a great time with the game anyway, and then the platinum was a really good, like, it was a really good experience because I did one of the raids with one other guy, so we just did a 2-man raid because you could get by basically in this raid with it, and we just had a really good time, like, actually getting it. No, actually, I'm going to replace it. My favorite platinum is Call of Duty Black Ops 2, because the zombie trophies in that are just so crazy, and you need 4 people, of course, for it as well. Just had such a great time. I remember because I had 3 other people with me, and we were all in my room, and we were there was tension. It was like, don't die, who died, you know, that kind of stuff. But it was such a relief when we got it, the zombie trophies and that. So that's probably one of my fondest memories.
The zombie trophies just got like harder and more ridiculous as the series went on. Like, I remember just the Black Ops DLC wasn't even part of the plat, thankfully, but they were so like over the top, and just like so many runs needed. But look, you got the plat, and that's all that matters. So Dan, thanks a million for talking me through your very, very impressive list. You're kind of one of the old guards of the trophy system, much like myself. You've been around since first trophy earned 12 years ago. Saved Private Ryan is your first trophy.
It's a good one. Yeah, I'd say.
I love is just Matt Damon's face. Just on the... And first plat for Resi 5. It feels like a lifetime ago, but also last week that you got that plat.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you made it this far, I think we can all agree that this is a list to strive for. So do you have anything to say to people, Dan?
Well, God, if anyone watched this up to this far, I'd be very impressed. So, God, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you to the 2 people who made it this far.
Yeah, I you know, like I said, you know, it really is just a kind of, it's like a catalogue, a memory book of all my memories of gaming throughout the last, you know, 10, 11 years. So it's really nice to look back on. I remember each game I played very, very vividly, you know.
Oh, and one last thing before we leave you to it. Dan has been looking for a new PSN name for quite some time.
Yes.
He wants to maybe incorporate the name Dan.
Yeah.
Put your suggestions down in the comments below and let's see what
Please.
the Platchums buddies can come up with, alright?
Yeah,
So,
I'd be willing to go with like a straw poll at this point.
anyway, we'll leave it there. So, well done on your trophy collection. Yeah, there it is.
Platchums!